topic at a time. This series was and continues to be inspired by a combination of events, educational challenges, parenthood struggles, and the overall changing nature of the world that we live in today. Specifically, I want to talk about the impact of the changing nature of traditional education, peer-to-peer and public socialization while we're learning to live in this new world, and the varying streams of information that are coming into our lives. What's right? What's wrong? Who's telling the truth? Who's lying? Why are they lying? Throughout this series, we'll try to tackle all of these questions and more. On the education topic, we're going to look at a topic that might be falling off of lessons planned across the country as we try to adjust to online learning: sex education. The reason that we're going to talk about sex education today is to help fill the gap between what we hear and see on social media and from our friends and what it takes to be a responsible partner. There are even some school districts and learning institutions where sex ed isn't even on the school curriculum to begin with. According to the Texas Tribune, Texas public schools aren't even required to teach sexual education. State law requires that schools teaching sex ed stress abstinence as the preferred choice for unmarried young people. Parents can opt their children out of any lesson that they want, and consequently in the same article it's noted that Texas consistently has one of the highest teen birth rates in the entire country. Now, if information like this represents even a small percentage of the cause and effect relationship between good sexual education in our schools and the prevention of unintended pregnancies, the transmission of STDs, now's the perfect time for us to address it. And even better, we get to address it on a platform that is accessible to all of the individuals who can be adversely affected by lack of proper educational resources today. We're going to focus on prevention in lieu of abstinence. This way, if we do decide to engage in sexual activity, we can ensure that we're minimizing the risk of becoming pregnant, getting your partner pregnant, or the transmission of an STD to or from your partner. Now, the most traditional prophylactic measure to achieve these goals is, well, to use a prophylactic, or a condom. The word prophylactic actually means something which prevents disease, or the spread of disease. And this was the original intended function of condoms. The fact that they also happen to help prevent pregnancy is somewhat of a bonus in this case historically. It's worth noting that Viagra, for instance, was actually first developed as a heart medicine. Turns out that it's also fantastic at something else. So hooray for side effects and off-label use for these things. It's fantastic. Now, I'm not going to put on a condom to show you how this works. I haven't taken my heart medication today. But I am going to use a familiar item to demonstrate how to put on protection prior to sex. Contrary to modern texting, emojis, and symbology, an eggplant will not work for this demonstration. And if by chance you can relate to the eggplant in your personal life, please see a doctor immediately. You may be suffering from elephantiasis, also known as lymphatic filariasis. Might be funny in passing as a joke, but the reality is you're probably suffering from a serious medical condition. You don't need to worry about the contents of this video right now. Go get yourself some medical attention. All right. So for our purposes, the cucumber and the condom will work perfectly for this demonstration. It will also allow us to keep a maximum of a PG-13 rating. So let's walk through getting the condom onto the cucumber. Now when the cucumber becomes ready and we have our condom handy, we're going to start by opening the condom package and determine which side is which. This is very important. Attempting to put a condom on the wrong way can have major impacts to your performance. Delay in the application of your prophylactic is not desirable. It's like drawing your gun in a duel, then you realize it isn't loaded. You got to take your eyes off the target, fiddle with it, try to correct the problem, all the while your dueling companion is hopefully waiting patiently for you to get your act together. It's not ideal. Let's avoid this altogether. All right. Once you've figured out which way your condom unrolls, it's time to put it on. You can proceed. Now there is a small reservoir tip at the end of the condom. You don't want to try to shove the cucumber all the way into this reservoir tip. Not only is it kind of uncomfortable, but it's kind of against good use practices too. So don't do this. Now that the condom is on and we have a little bit of room at the tip, we're going to unroll that condom all the way down the cucumber to the base of the cucumber, or until we've simply run out of length of the prophylactic. And it's on. If you find the condom of your choice is ill-fitting, don't worry. There are a variety of shapes and sizes available for you to ensure your safety and comfort. So here we are. We're almost ready to move forward with safe, consensual, and responsible sex. There is one last step, however, that is crucial to ensuring the most safe, pleasurable, and responsible encounter that is possible. You need to take a blade, a razor, or a sharp instrument of some sort and actually perform a circumcision of the prophylactic, being very careful not to cut in to the cucumber if at all possible. There we go. And remove it. All right, you're ready for action. All right, you see any problem with that? Of course we see a problem with this. There's no way in hell that you would ever cut the head off of a condom prior to engaging in any sex act. It's simply not reasonable to go to the effort of owning and applying a prophylactic to protect yourself and your partner or partners, only to mess up the part that actually provides the protection. Which brings us to the real topic of this video. Wearing a rubber with a gaping hole at the end during intercourse and half-assing the donning of our masks in public is no different. There is no protection between you and other people. There's no protection between other people and you. And the people around you might be getting screwed. I do need to point out one major difference between having safe sex and going out into public without the proper protection. In the event that you're engaging in safe and consensual sex, you're doing so with a willing partner. And most likely you're doing so with that person or the maximum number of people you can fit onto your bed or sofa or whatever. In the event that you're going out into public or to go to work, to pick up medicine, or to shop for groceries, or buy condoms, you're doing this with complete strangers. And most likely there are a lot more of them than would even fit in your neighborhood, let alone your bed. In both cases, we need to talk about the consent and the boundaries we are entitled to as human beings in the places that we share. Our public places, our shops, our markets, our grocery stores are opening back up. And we need to treat them and other people with a lot of respect during these tough times. Reciprocating the trust that they're putting in us by obliging the rules that they're putting in place, which allow us to return to these places, is how we can do that. In the context of safe and consensual sex, the supermarket is our proverbial orgy. If we show up at an orgy without an invitation, there's a decent chance we're not going to get to join in the festivities. But we have been invited. Our stores are open again. If we show up at the orgy without protection, when it's clearly stated that protection is required, there's no chance that we're going to get to come in or at the event. There are conditions for our participation and they need to be met. Wearing a mask is the ask of us. The nose on your face being covered by your mask is as important as the head of your penis being sheathed by a prophylactic during sex. The prophy part is actually nullified when we do it wrong. But the drooping mask should be an easy thing to address. We shouldn't feel any more bashful or nervous about asking a stranger in the produce section to pull the mask up over their nose than we should hesitate to ask our sexual partner to skip the step where they decapitate their condom prior to intercourse. It's for everyone's protection, and nobody should be reluctant to have to ask for safety. Now, the former talking point assumes that we all have the best of intentions. Maybe you had no idea that your mask was falling down, or that that's how a mask works, or a condom works, but that's been covered now. And that should be the end of the conversation, right? Well, no, sadly, it's not. There's a behavior emerging that we're going to talk about, and it brings me no pleasure to have to address this. It is a behavior that represents the absolute worst that we have to offer as people. That's removing of your mask after you've made it past the front door in an environment where masks are required. As soon as the grocery store greeter has waved you through, the cart attendants presented us or you with a sterilized shopping cart, our cards have been checked at Sam's Club, the masks come off into our pockets or into your purse. Vile, reprehensible, I don't have enough words of displeasure to describe this activity. Earlier we talked about consent. My consent for us to engage in an activity was based on an understanding. It was based on an understanding that included the use of protection for both you and me. Now we, the portion of the population engaging in the use of facial covers per the request of the vendors that we go and visit, trusted you, and when you removed your mask, you engaged in an act of deception that cannot be tolerated. We agreed to let you into a place in our lives where we were trusting, consenting, and vulnerable. We were in this place to buy groceries, medicine, sustenance for daily life, and you betrayed that consent and trust for your own pleasure and comfort by removing our protection. But this is about more than just a few people and fellow shoppers. You're violating not only them, but their wives and their husbands and their children. You're violating the trust and the protection of the workers who are showing up on a daily basis to ensure that we have the ability to receive the services that we rely on in order to maintain our lives. Unlike the Consensual Sex Act that we have been discussing today, we didn't give you consent to violate us. Period. But this video was about safe sex. So in order to stay on topic, believe it or not, there is a reprehensible act that occurs during safe and consensual sex that is 100% analogous to this behavior. It's called stealthing. Stealthing is non-consensual condom removal, or the practice of covertly removing or damaging a condom during sex, when your sex partner has only consented to condom-protected sex. This behavior can and is regarded as sexual assault and rape. This is where we are right now. Stealthing is as real as it is despicable. And your removal of that mask in an environment where you know damn well that it was required of you to get in the door to be wearing it? Make no mistake about it. You're behaving as selfishly and as heinously as a sexual predator or rapist by practicing your mask stealthing. But you are so much worse. There was no consent to begin with. Not from me, not from anyone. There was only trust. It doesn't matter what you or I or anybody else believes to be true. This is a matter of one person or many who are trying to protect themselves and everybody they love from harm. Real or imagined, it is being dealt with in a manner that shopkeepers, small business owners, national store chains, local and state governments deem necessary in order to simply open their doors for business for us. The protection that we are being asked to use and being asked in an honest effort to protect human life, my life, your life, everybody's, whether we believe it's a threat or not, is all that is being asked. Practicing safe sex is not a right. It's not protected by our Constitution, by any other article, or by law. It's an agreement and an understanding that's followed by actions which support that trust and respect between partners and show that it is valid. Right here now, we're being asked to engage in safe and consensual practices with our fellow human beings, our partners. We all know the agreement that exists between us and the people that we encounter in the places that we go. It's painted on the sidewalks, it's on every door that we open, it's everywhere that we look. And we all know that we get to go these places because we agree to do so in a safe and respectful manner. It's my belief that to act in any other manner, other than that which we have been asked to, is a violation of that consent and trust and goodwill of all the men and women who are allowing us to enter their lives during these times. All right, question. Do we engage in safe sex only when we know for sure that our sexual partners have a sexually transmittable disease? How about this? Would you have unprotected sex with a man or a woman who promised you that STDs did not exist and proudly stood up against the use of prophylactics? So tune in next week. We are going to continue our discussion on safe sex. Specifically, we're going to tackle all those top excuses that people use for not using protection. We'll see you then.